Among the countless coins that have passed through American hands over the past century, few capture the imagination quite like the USA wheat penny. The rarest wheat pennies shine as true treasures, tangible links to America's past and reminders that even the smallest coin can hold immense value. Top 1. In a world where loose change jingles unnoticed in pockets and drawers, there exists one small, forgotten coin that has stunned collectors, sparked bidding wars, and sent shockwaves through numismatic circles. It's not gold. It's not silver. It's copper. And it's worth $67,000. This is the story of the 1958 wheat penny, a coin that emerged from the tail end of American tradition and quietly became one of the most valuable 1-cent pieces to ever exist. To understand the significance of this coin, we go back to 1958, a year full of transformation. Elvis Presley dominated the airwaves. NASA was formed. The country surged forward in science, industry, and global influence. And in the midst of it all, the US Mint quietly struck the last pennies bearing the wheat reverse design, a design that had been in use since 1909. For half a century, Americans had grown up seeing two humble wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent on the back of their smallest coin. That design ended in 1958, replaced the following year with the Lincoln Memorial. The final wheat penny wasn't expected to be rare. Over 250 million were minted in Philadelphia alone. But within this massive mintage, a few coins were struck with unusually sharp detail. Flawless surfaces. Full red luster. Incredibly well preserved. And then, among those, an even smaller number displayed an unmistakable anomaly, doubling. The letters on Liberty, the date, and In God We Trust appeared duplicated, a textbook case of a double die obverse. This wasn't a smudge. It wasn't post-mint damage. It was a legitimate minting error caused by a misalignment during the striking process, where the die itself carried the doubled impression. Collectors live for these types of errors. And in the case of the 1958 wheat penny, the discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. This wasn't just an error coin. It was an error in the final year of one of the most iconic American coin series. Only a few were confirmed. And one of them, preserved in breathtaking condition, would later sell for $67,000 at auction. Imagine holding that in your hand. A coin you could once find in pocket change, now valued more than a luxury car. What made it worth that much? First, rarity. Only a few of the 1958 double die cents have ever been authenticated. Some experts believe fewer than 3 examples in uncirculated condition exist. Second, condition. The coin that sold for $67,000 was graded MS65 red by a top grading agency, meaning it had never been touched by circulation and retained its original red copper luster. Third, demand. Collectors go to extremes for early Lincoln cent varieties. Add a famous error, and the value skyrockets. This wasn't a slow climb. It was explosive. As the coin surfaced and the bidding began, collectors around the world watched. Dealers scrambled. Forums lit up with speculation. Some believed it could reach $25,000. Others thought $50,000. When the final hammer fell at $67,000, silence struck, followed by applause. It wasn't just the price. It was the confirmation. The wheat penny, the simple coin known to millions, had a king among its final run. But the story doesn't end with one sale. The legend of the 1958 wheat penny continued to grow. Suddenly, everyone was checking their collections. Old cigar boxes, plastic flips, rows of pennies stashed in the back of drawers. People who had never looked twice at a Lincoln cent were now holding them up to the light, squinting at the lettering, hoping to spot the telltale doubling. Coin shops reported spikes in traffic. Online forums boomed. Social media was flooded with close-up photos of 1958 cents, many misidentified, but a few worth second glances. Treasure hunting had gone mainstream. The idea that 1 cent could be worth a small fortune inspired a new generation of collectors. In the months that followed the $67,000 sale, prices for lesser examples also climbed. Coins with less dramatic doubling, or in lower condition, still commanded thousands. Even standard 1958 wheat pennies in pristine condition began to rise in value, driven by renewed attention. The 1958 wheat penny didn't just become a rarity. It became a symbol. A reminder that hidden treasures can still be found. That history can sit unnoticed in the corners of everyday life. That even the most common things, overlooked and undervalued, can hold immense worth under the right light. And for those who knew what to look for, it became an obsession. Collectors began telling stories of the hunt. One man found a double die cent in a lot of unsearched pennies he'd bought at a garage sale for $10. Another came across a near-perfect example in his grandfather's old collection, forgotten in a dusty tackle box. A teenager, new to the hobby, spotted one on eBay mislisted as a standard penny and snagged it for under $50, later confirming it as genuine and selling it for thousands. The coin world had changed. And all because of one coin. 1 cent. From 1958. And yet, questions lingered. How many are still out there? Were there other errors yet to be discovered? Did mint workers know they had made a mistake, or did the coins quietly leave the presses without notice? No one could say for sure, but the 1958 wheat penny, once a farewell to a beloved design, had become a holy grail. Not because it was expected, but because it was unexpected. Not because it was designed to be valuable, but because a twist of fate had made it so. And as more stories emerged, the coin's legend only grew. Coin dealers began adding 1958 wheat pennies to their front displays. Videos and blogs told the story, each time reigniting curiosity. Auctions listed new finds, some real, some hopeful. But always, at the heart of it all, was that same tiny, copper coin. 1 cent, $67,000. What makes a coin worth that much? A perfect storm of history, rarity, condition, and timing. But perhaps above all, it's the story. The mystery. The possibility that right now, in a forgotten jar or collection, another one waits to be found. The 1958 wheat penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that in a world full of noise, sometimes the most valuable things are quiet, simple, and small enough to fit in your pocket. Top 2. In a quiet corner of American history, tucked inside dusty drawers and coffee cans, lies a coin that once slipped between the fingers of millions, unnoticed, ordinary, forgotten. A coin that, at first glance, looked like every other Lincoln cent. It bore no gold shimmer, no silver shine. It was copper. Humble. Simple. And yet, one of these very coins, minted in the pivotal year of 1940, sold for an unbelievable $71,000. This is not just a story about a coin. This is a story about discovery, timing, obsession, and the strange power of the smallest things to hold the largest surprises. It begins in the shadows of war. The world teetered on the brink of global conflict. Europe was at war. Hitler had invaded Poland. The skies over London would soon rain fire. But in the United States, 1940 was a year of uneasy calm. Franklin D. Roosevelt was president. America watched from across the ocean, preparing, unsure of when, only knowing that it was inevitable. Factories thrummed. Soldiers trained. And at the Philadelphia Mint, coins continued to pour out of heavy, roaring presses. Among them, the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny. It was never supposed to be rare. Over 586 million of them were minted. It was a workhorse coin, meant for pockets, paychecks, phone booths, and bubblegum machines. It was used to buy candy, pay rent, tip waiters, and trade for comic books. No one looked twice at a 1940 penny. Why would they? But history has a way of hiding its treasures. And sometimes, value is born not from intent, but from accident. For decades, the 1940 wheat penny sat silently in circulation. It passed from hand to hand without a second glance. But among the hundreds of millions, a very few, perhaps just one handful, were different. They bore sharper details. They shined brighter. Their surfaces were smooth, untouched by the world. Some had microscopic errors, imperfections in the die that struck them. Others were simply born perfect. One of them, an untouched, radiant specimen graded MS-68 plus read by professional graders, would later emerge from the shadows and ignite a bidding war. The coin was flawless. Full copper luster. No scratches. No marks. A time capsule from 1940. And when it came up for auction, collectors took notice. At first, whispers spread through the community. Could a common year-wheat penny really demand that kind of attention? Was this a fluke? Was the coin really that rare? Then the bidding began. $10, $000, $20, $000. Still climbing. $35, $000. $42,000. $56,000. And then, after a tense, electric silence, $71,000. Sold. Shock rippled through the hobby. A coin most believed was ordinary had just commanded a price higher than a brand new luxury car. Why? How? The answer, like all great treasures, lies in the details. Rarity is not always about quantity. Sometimes it's about condition. Among the 586 million pennies struck in 1940, nearly all suffered damage. They were scratched, dented, worn down by decades of use. To find one in perfect condition, untouched by time, preserved with care, is a miracle. To find one with that condition, from that year, with full red color and not even a whisper of imperfection. That's what makes legends, and so, the legend of the 1940 wheat penny was born. Stories began to surface. A retired man in Ohio claimed he had one tucked away in an old album, forgotten since childhood. A young collector in Texas said he found a near-perfect 1940 cent in a $5 bag of junk coins at a flea market. The hunt had begun. People who had never cared about coins before were now digging through drawers, overturning coffee cans, tearing open rolls from the back. Was there another $71,000 coin waiting in the shadows? Across YouTube and social media, videos appeared. Close-ups of Lincoln's face. Tips on spotting mint luster. List of what to look for, full steps. Clean fields. No contact marks. Red, not brown. Mint state, not circulated. Coin dealers, once sleepy in strip malls, saw new faces. Grandparents asked their grandchildren to look through old jars. A national treasure hunt had started, all because of a coin that most people believed was worthless. But the story didn't end with the sale. The 1940 wheat penny became a mystery, a conversation, a movement. Experts debated the number of existing high-grade examples. Some believed fewer than 10 true MS-68 plus reds could exist. Others argued the coin was one of a kind. One thing was certain: the combination of age, condition, and demand had created something extraordinary, and behind it all, the coin's design remained unchanged, a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, gazing to the right, the word liberty to his left. The date, 1940, pressed clearly beneath. On the reverse, the words of 1 cent, flanked by wheat ears, a simple, strong, American. It was a coin from a different world. And yet it had survived. Now, imagine this: a child receives a handful of pennies from a parent's collection. Among them, a 1940 wheat penny, bright and sharp. They hold it up to the light. Something about it seems different. They take it to a local coin shop. The owner pauses. Eyes widen. He takes out a loupe, examines it carefully, then makes a call. Days later, the penny is shipped across the country. It lands in a grading lab. Experts in white gloves and controlled lighting analyze every detail. The verdict: MS-68 plus red. A month later, it appears in a catalog. And the bidding begins. The dream continues. This is what coins do. They turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. They preserve history not in books, but in metal. And sometimes, they reveal that what we've ignored for years may be the very thing we've been searching for all along. So the next time you see a wheat penny, take a second look. Especially if it's from 1940. Especially if it shines just a little brighter. It might be nothing. Or it might be worth $71,000. The truth is, the 1940 wheat penny isn't just a coin. It's a story. It's a symbol. A lesson. That sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest value. Would you throw away a penny? Millions have, but one man did it. And today, he owns a piece of history, worth more than a year's salary, all in a coin no bigger than a thumbnail. The world of coin collecting is built on patience, detail, and luck. But more than anything, it's built on belief, the belief that in a world full of millions, one thing might still be truly rare. That belief is why collectors keep looking. Why they open rolls, dig through boxes, and scan every coin with quiet hope somewhere out there, another 1940 wheat penny waits. Sitting in silence. Shining in a dark place. Waiting for the right eyes to see it. Waiting to write the next chapter in this unbelievable story, and when it surfaces, it won't just be another sale. It'll be a moment. A spark. A new wave of curiosity. Because as long as coins like the 1940 wheat penny exist, the search will never end, and that, perhaps, is the greatest value of all. Top 3. In the chaotic final year of the Second World War, while tanks rolled through Europe, and peace negotiations stirred in secret rooms, a small copper coin was quietly minted in the United States. It weighed 3.11 grams. It bore the face of Abraham Lincoln, noble and calm. It passed through the hands of soldiers, mothers, factory workers, and children buying penny candy at the corner store. No one looked twice, but 80 years later, one of those coins would sell for $63,000. Not because it was made of gold. Not because it was rare by mintage. But because it was something even more powerful, perfect. Untouched. Gleaming with the color of original copper, as if it had been struck yesterday and then sealed away in time. A 1945 wheat penny. A 1-cent coin. Sold for $63,000. The world of coins is not driven by face value. It is driven by stories, by condition, by fate, and in 1945, the story began. The war was almost over. Germany would surrender in May. Japan would fall in August. Victory parades were on the horizon, but grief still hung over millions of families. Ration books remained on kitchen counters. War bonds lined office walls. Children still ran out to meet postmen, praying the telegram wasn't bad news. Amidst this, life kept moving. Commerce never stopped. And the U.S. Mint, with its endless mechanical rhythm, kept striking coins. The 1945 wheat penny was born in massive numbers, over 1 billion produced across all mints. Most people believed it to be common. Worth a cent then. Worth a cent now, but coins don't live equal lives. Some are dropped on pavement. Some are rubbed smooth inside coat pockets. Some are scuffed, marked, dented by time. But a few, just a tiny handful, are spared. They are struck perfectly, cleanly, and somehow escape into collections, untouched by the outside world. That is how a 1945 wheat penny survived. Point 1 specimen, deep red, uncirculated, with mirror-like fields and razor-sharp strike, appeared at a major auction decades later. Experts who had handled thousands of coins stopped and stared. They measured it, weighed it, magnified every line, every curve in Lincoln's coat, every serif in the word liberty. It was pristine, graded MS a 68+, read by professionals. It represented not just a coin, but a miracle of preservation. And when the bidding began, no one could have predicted what would follow. $10,000. Then $18,000. Someone across the world clicked in. $27,000. $41,000. The auction hall was silent, the air heavy. $52,000. Final bid came in, calm, decisive, and unmatched. $63,000. The gavel dropped. What had once been worth a single cent had become a symbol of rarity, of survival, of American history sealed in copper. The coin world erupted. Not because it was an error. Not because it had low mintage. But because it proved something sacred to collectors, that perfection, even from a common year, can make all the difference. And so began the obsession. People scrambled to examine their 1945 wheat pennies. Posts exploded online. Collectors grabbed magnifying glasses, looking for untouched details. Dealers received calls asking, Do you have any red 1945s? Grading companies saw a surge of submissions. Not all were genuine gems, but a few were. A few had sat in safety deposit boxes, inside envelopes marked Grandpa's old coins. Overlooked for decades, collectors began telling stories that a man in Kansas, sorting through a box of unsearched rolls he inherited, found a 1945 penny that shimmered like fire. He submitted it. Weeks later, the call came. MS 67 plus red. Nearly perfect. Offers followed, some exceeding $20,000. A teenager in Oregon gifted a coin book by his grandfather, opened a page and noticed a penny that looked brighter than the rest. It turned out to be a near twin of the $63,000 piece. The dream was alive. The beauty of coins is that they travel through time. They survive floods, fires, wars, and generations. But only a few remain in their original glory. That is what separates the valuable from the common. Condition is king. And when condition meets history, the result is electric. The 1945 wheat penny now carries a reputation. It is no longer just a post-war cent. It is a sleeper rarity, a test of patience, a beacon for collectors hoping to find lightning in a jar. What made that one coin worth $63,000? It was the combination of perfect condition. MS 68 plus red is nearly unheard of, even among modern coins. For a coin from 1945 to achieve it. That's numismatic magic. Historical weight. 1945 was no ordinary year. It was the end of World War II. Every artifact from that time is imbued with emotion. A penny from that year doesn't just carry monetary value, it carries memory. Visual appeal. The coin glowed. It reflected light in ways even experts describe as museum quality. That kind of eye appeal ignites auctions. Scarcity at the top. While billions were made, only one, or at most a few, achieved that grade, and fewer still survived with full color and sharp strike. In a sea of rust and wear, it was aflame. Today, that coin sits in a private collection, locked in a secure vault, insured not just for its price, but for its place in American coin history. Its story is told at shows, written in articles, and whispered by collectors as the ultimate example of what makes this hobby a treasure hunt. And perhaps the most powerful truth of all, there could be more right now, in a jar in an attic, in a roll at the back of a bank, in an old red envelope labeled Pennies 1941 to 1949, another treasure could be waiting. Not every 1945 wheat penny is worth $63,000. But maybe, just maybe, one is. That possibility drives people. It draws eyes to coin albums, sparks garage sales, inspires new collectors, and reawakens old ones. The search never ends. Because if one coin like that can exist, so can another, and that is the real value of the 1945 wheat penny. Not the copper, not the cent, but the story of something so small, lost in plain sight, that became unforgettable. That story has only begun. Top 4. In the vast world of coin collecting, some coins quietly sit unnoticed for decades, while others suddenly ignite a frenzy of excitement, bidding wars, and jaw-dropping price tags. Among these hidden gems, one coin stands out, the 1951 wheat penny. This modest copper cent, produced in an era often overlooked by collectors, shocked the numismatic community when an extraordinary specimen sold for a staggering $73,000. The story of the 1951 wheat penny is not just about a coin, it's about history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. It begins in a post-war America, a time when the nation was booming with hope and change. The year 1951 was marked by economic growth, the Korean War, and cultural shifts that shaped modern America. Amid these developments, the U.S. Mint continued its tradition of striking the iconic wheat penny, a coin that had symbolized everyday life since 1909. Though more than 500 million wheat pennies were minted in 1951, the majority circulated and wore down over time, their copper surfaces dulled by decades of handling. But hidden among these countless coins, a select few emerged in near-perfect condition. These rare survivors retained their original red luster and sharp details, and among them, one stood above all others, a pristine, flawless 1951 wheat penny that would become one of the most sought-after cents in American numismatics. This remarkable coin caught the attention of collectors and experts alike. Graded MS-67 red by Top Coin Grading Services, it displayed an unparalleled combination of condition, color, and strike quality. Its surfaces shone with a vibrant copper hue, with every detail of Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions, and the wheat stalks on the reverse rendered with crisp precision. This was more than a coin, it was a time capsule, frozen perfectly in time. When the coin went up for auction, the bidding was fierce. Collectors from around the globe recognized its significance. The excitement built quickly. $10,000, $30,000, $50,000, and with each bid, the penny's value soared far beyond its humble face value. The final hammer came down at $73,000, solidifying the 1951 wheat penny's place as one of the most valuable pennies ever sold. What makes this coin so special? First, its rarity in such exceptional condition. While millions of 1951 wheat pennies exist, virtually none have survived without wear and damage. The MS-67 red grade signifies a coin virtually untouched by time, a rarity in itself. Second, the coin's historical context adds a profound layer of significance. As it was minted during a transformative period in American history, collectors have since been inspired to scour their collections and search through old coin rolls, hoping to unearth another gem. The 1951 wheat penny story has transcended numismatic circles, sparking viral interest across social media, forums, and even mainstream news. This penny is a testament to the allure of coin collecting, the unexpected value hidden in everyday objects, waiting to be discovered. Owning a 1951 wheat penny in such pristine condition is owning a piece of American history, a tangible connection to the past and a symbol of the meticulous craft and artistry that went into every coin struck by the U.S. Mint. For those lucky enough to find one, it is more than just currency, it is a treasure. The 1951 wheat penny reminds us that sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest stories, and the highest value. Its journey from common pocket change to a $73,000 masterpiece continues to captivate collectors and enthusiasts worldwide, inspiring the next generation of treasure hunters to look a little closer at the pennies they carry. Top 5. Among the millions of pennies that circulated through America's pockets in the 1950s, the 1957 wheat penny appeared ordinary, a simple copper cent bearing the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln and the iconic wheat ears on the reverse. But, beneath its unassuming surface, this coin holds a secret. A secret that propelled one rare specimen to an astonishing $56,000 at auction, igniting a wave of excitement and fascination among collectors and enthusiasts alike. To understand why this penny commands such an extraordinary price, we must journey back to 1957, a year of transformation for America. The country was riding the post-war boom, the economy was flourishing, and cultural shifts were beginning to take shape. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint continued producing Lincoln cents with the wheat design on the back, a beloved emblem that had graced pennies since 1909. More than 500 million 1957 wheat pennies were struck, making them seem anything but rare. Yet, the vast majority were tossed into circulation, jostled around in pockets, jingle-filled jars, and cash registers. Years of use left most pennies worn, scratched, and faded. But, in the hidden folds of time, a few escaped this fate. They remained untouched, their copper surfaces glowing with the original rich red color and crisp details. One of these coins, a pristine specimen graded MS-67 red by professional grading authorities, captured the hearts and wallets of collectors. It stood out with impeccable detail, Lincoln's profile sharp and vivid, the inscriptions clear, the wheat ears on the back perfectly defined. This coin was not just a piece of currency, it was a flawless artifact, an unspoiled link to the past. The coin's condition set it apart. MS-67 red is a grade indicating a nearly perfect, uncirculated coin, retaining full red luster, a rarity for a copper coin from 1957. The majority of pennies from that year show signs of wear and toning, making this flawless specimen extremely desirable. When this particular 1957 wheat penny appeared at auction, bidding fever took hold. Collectors worldwide recognized the significance of owning such a pristine example. The bids escalated rapidly, $15,000, $30,000, $45,000, until the final, breathtaking sale price of $56,000. This sale sent shockwaves through the coin collecting community. It proved that even coins from years with high mintages could achieve tremendous value if they survived the ravages of time in extraordinary condition. The 1957 wheat penny story is a powerful reminder that rarity is not always about quantity but about quality and preservation. Since the auction, countless collectors have been motivated to re-examine their own collections, searching for similarly preserved pennies from 1957. The quest to find coins that match the beauty and condition of this remarkable specimen has spread virally across social media, forums, and coin clubs, fueling excitement and hope. The allure of the 1957 wheat penny lies in its juxtaposition, a common coin transformed into a treasure by the passage of time and the rarity of its condition. It symbolizes the enduring appeal of coin collecting, where history, artistry, and chance intersect. Owning a 1957 wheat penny in such exceptional condition is more than possessing a coin, it's holding a piece of American heritage. It connects us to the era when pennies were made to last and carried stories in every scratch and shine. As collectors and enthusiasts continue the search, the legend of the 1957 wheat penny grows. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most unassuming objects can hold the greatest value, and that treasures often lie hidden in the most ordinary places, whether tucked away in an old coin album, forgotten in a dusty jar, or found in a roll of pennies from the bank. The 1957 wheat penny is a beacon of possibility. It invites us to look closer, to treasure the small, and to dream that we might one day find the next $56,000 coin waiting quietly to be discovered. This coin's journey from humble circulation to coveted rarity is a testament to the magic of coin collecting, a hobby where every coin has a story, and every story holds the promise of treasure.